good evening. Can you believe it? We are now at the end of April, and that means that we are right back here in this space for another segment of the Distinguished Alumni Speaker Series. My name is Alicia Thompson, and I serve as Associate Vice President of Fund Development, as well as advisor to the Alumni Association of the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute. Each month during these sessions, we are delighted to showcase the talents of our brightest and best alumni. At this time, we encourage you to share the link and to invite a friend. By way of housekeeping, this evening's session is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube for those who wish to view it at a later date. Your microphones have been muted. However, the chat function has been enabled, and we invite you to place your comments in the chat. Feel free to ask questions and, of course, to make suggestions on how we may make these sessions even more exciting. Finally, if your cameras are on, we can see you and we can see what's behind you. So we encourage you to be mindful of your surroundings. Now, to the business of this evening. I now invite Ms. Kadrin Carey to bring the official welcome.
Good evening to all of you, and welcome to our fourth segment of the BTVI Virtual Alumni Speaker Series. I am Kadrin Carey, President of the BTVI Alumni Association, New Providence Chapter. I am pleased to welcome you as we prepare for another informative session by a truly distinguished alumnus in the person of Mr. Warren Andrew Pinder. I also wish to recognize other board members, management, faculty, staff, alumni, and friends of BTVI who have signed on this evening to learn of another exciting journey, a journey which took Mr. Pinder from a student to alumnus to an instructor, and then to author and board member at this prestigious institute. I invite you to relax, listen attentively, and then place your questions and or comments in our chat. If you wish, you may also email us at alumni@btvi.edu.bs with your ideas on how we may make this session even better. Also, we would like to say welcome, welcome, and welcome. Now sit back and enjoy the ride. Back to you, A.V. Thompson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Carey. Thank you very much. And now I would like to invite Nadanique Guillory, who is the Chair of Events and Fundraising at the Grand Bahama Chapter, to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, A.B. Thompson. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good evening. It was 1984 when young Warren Andrew Pinder, a graduate of St. Anne's High School, entered the doors of the Industrial Training College, then ITC. His enrollment at the technical college was not by choice, but instead by the insistence of his father, Warren Pinder Sr., and his mother, Marina Pinder. At ITC, young Warren's firm foundation in all things construction was laid, and throughout his life, he built on that foundation. As fate would have it, Mr. Pinder returned to BTVI in 1989 to begin his career in teaching. While here, he taught carpentry, blueprint reading, and coordinated our drywall training during the construction of Atlantis Phase 2. While at BTVI, Mr. Pinder also rose to the position of head of department and was instrumental in negotiating partnership with the Arawak Homes Limited, which resulted in some of our students being engaged in the construction of a house in Arawak Homes development. Fast forward to 2022, and today, Mr. Warren Andrew Pinder is Executive Vice President of Construction at Arawak Homes Limited, with the responsibility for planning and management of projects. Author of the book, Achieve Men. And we, as alumnus, are especially proud of the fact that he was recently named to the BTVI board as a director. We are certainly BTVI proud. And Mr. Pinder's accomplishments, and without further delay, I now invite Mr. Pinder to share his journey from alumnus to author and now to board member. The stage is now yours, Mr. Pinder.
Good evening, everyone. I thank you for that eloquent introduction, Mr. Alicia Thompson, Ms. Kerry. I entered the gates of BTVI in 1984, as was said. At the time, graduating from St. Anne's, it was basically the idea of my mom to not at the time understanding exactly my career choice to go and learn a trade. Literally, BTVI most often is known and persons are, in the deciding mode when they graduate from high school exactly what they want to do in terms of career. But oftentimes entering the doors of BTVI is said to go and learn a trade. Well, you go to other institutes and, they'll tell you, okay, you're preparing, you're studying to become a professional. At BTVI, it's more, the stigma is there, some stigma saying that, okay, you're learning a trade. And that's what happened to me in 1984. But I want to say that those that attend high institutions abroad, UB, and become professionals, they need students from BTVI. And this is something that I learned early. I was privileged at BTVI at the time, it was ITC, where we were actually paid to learn. They sent us on internships. The program was 6 months at the time. We were sent on internships, which I was privileged to go and work in a cabinet shop. I went and worked in a shipyard. We came back and yes, we graduated. After which I went to work with the land surveyor. My eyes and horizon was opened. Opportunity for me then to go off. My sister instilled that my mom sent me off. I got the opportunity to go off to Texas Southern University, where I got a bachelor's degree in construction management. I then worked in Houston for a year and a half, after which returning, and fate would have it that I would return to BTVI. I remember the day I was actually working in Houston and came home on vacation. And at the time, there was something called a technical award, which simply meant that you were bonded to the Ministry of Education. And my mom said to me, you must go and, either make arrangements to pay that grant off or go and work. The manager at ITC at the time was Mr. Goran Turnquist. And I remember interviewing with him and he asked me, when are you ready to start? And I'm like, well, I need to go and wrap up because I'm actually employed in Texas. But, it was my destiny to return. And 2 weeks later, I was home, placed in the carpentry shop, working under the tutelage of the then Mr. Raymond Davis, who was teaching cabinet making and joinery. Fast forward a few years, I then started to see where my teaching was able to help so many persons. I began to love it. I saw where, we were, as I said, I didn't see it as a trade any longer. I was now in a career. And I began to understand as persons would ask me at the time, can you find someone to assist me with, laying out a house or, some repairs, pitching a roof. So, you're starting now the opportunities began to open. And I then began to mentor my students and try to teach them along that path. It was like teaching them how to read a blueprint. All right. So as we did that, I'm saying, you can learn carpentry, you can learn masonry, you can learn plumbing. You are needed. You are needed by the professionals that have gone on to, the doctors, the lawyers. Beauticians have to do lawyers and doctors here. So my journey just took me on to the point where I actually became HOD of the Construction Trades Department, at which time, I saw a deeper need to really lend and render, the highest service that I possibly could. And I know that it was needed. I knew that, we were training, and, it became to the point where technology was changing so quickly. And at the time, our facilities weren't adequate to give the proper training to catch up with the then projects that were coming. You're thinking about Atlantis in 1992, phase 2 coming shortly 3 years afterwards. And we needed skilled personnel. The opportunity came where we were asked at BTVI at the time to, put together a drywall training program, which we did. And we trained, I think it was 6 clusters of 12 persons each, which they were able to fit right into the program of construction at BTVI. I then, saw that it was possible for us to, other projects that came on, students that came from the major construction companies on what they call at the term a work release program, where they would come in and spend half the day to learn theory, as they were practicing their skills, their trade, during the other days of the week. These were vital to nation building. My journey took me even further. At the time, the Taiwanese government came to the Bahamas, and they offered to, render help in setting up a conch shell jewelry program, which I was then asked to coordinate. We had the opportunity to go to Taiwan. I worked in a factory, sat among, some of the dignitaries that taught us that, it's important for the Bahamas at the time to really train so that industry will come. We were training, did not have the industry to facilitate the training that was being done at the time. My point is that on my journey, I can tell you that, looking at entering BTVI to learn a trade, because you were probably deemed, the lower end of the class, or this is what you're best. Many of you may have been told, go learn a trade. But the point is where you started with that trade is most persons today, I can tell you that I know persons in construction that I taught, persons that were at BTVI with myself in 1984, persons that came after who are running very successful businesses as tradespersons. I'm happy to know and see the progress that the school has now taken, where they have the licensing for electricians and plumbers there. So as you proceed, it's important to know that you are a very intricate and important component of the GDP of our country. The projects that are so vast throughout the Keys and islands of the Bahamas would be nothing without properly skilled workmen. Those of you in other areas, I remember, the beauticians and the automotive, other alumni that may be here today, you serve just as an important role coming out of the doors of BTVI. BTVI, to me, is the hidden gem in the Bahamas. We enter, but for whatever reason at the time, is just simply that we are making a decision for our lives. You may not know, some persons come back just to learn to build their homes. Some person may want to learn, repair, or just a life-changing, a midlife-changing career. But we must know that what is being offered to everyone is treasure. Because once you begin to put the business component with what you're doing, all of the professionals that, the doctors, like I said, the lawyers, everyone that you possibly would run into would need a trained person. Most of the skilled trained persons in this country that come through the doors of BTVI. Now I can tell you that I went on beyond that, and there was a project going on, and I remember teaching the limited resources that the government would give to the school, and understanding that it was simply impossible to do all that was really needed to prepare our trainees to be able to function in their chosen career or trade going out. And this was coming back from a lot of the interaction with, the owners of companies. And they said this is what they need. It's simple. We need persons that are able to hang doors. We need persons that can come and read a plan. We need trade persons that, that can work, if not at a semi-skilled level. So you start there. And I took it upon myself to simply make one question, go and ask one question of the dance of Franklin Wilson, who was actually actively at Arawak Homes. He was actually on campus, for the opening of what is the North Campus there. And he took, delight in accepting my offer. He with Bismarck Coakley, we went and we sat down and we planned how could we get the construction trades department at BTVI to build a home for Arawak Homes that the students would get live learning on a live project. This project was successful. The electricians, we taught them how to lay out a home. We had the foundations trenched. We came in and the plumbing put in the fill. The plumbers came in and did what they have to, installing the plumbing rough in. The same with the electrical. The masons got the opportunity to block the home up. Then our carpentry department came and put on the roof. We're straight on down and the system went right on until we were tiling. Some kids would have fallen off at the time, but it was a great experience for the entire department. The support of all of the instructors, they rallied behind us, and this was a model that, it was hope that could be continued. And I can tell you that it was amazing. Just yesterday, on a project that I'm working on right now, I saw, we were doing a project and there's some carpentry work where we were petitioning off a home. And I saw a gentleman in the house and he said, "Hey, Pinder, how are you doing?" And I was like, "Hey, I'm good." I didn't know who I was talking to at the time. And he said, someone that was my teacher, the gentleman had said that, I was telling everyone that I was his teacher. The point I'm making is that on my journey, I decided, to really, as I was at BTVI, make something happen that other persons might understand the value of what they were doing, to transplant them from the workshop onto a live construction site. It was then my goal to try and get students that all I know. I can tell you about cabinet builders that I have. I can tell you about plumbers. I can tell you electricians. I know a gentleman that's doing homes in Life Key that I would have taught. I would have taught persons who just interior designers, person that wanted to know how to read a blueprint, for their own purpose of building their own home and so forth. The value at BTVI, just that what it did for me was understanding at the time that teaching, I did not train to be a teacher. That was not my chosen career. I loved working with my hands, but I understood that there was a need for those purposes that had that gift to work with their hand, to be guided, to someone to go out there and be, just be an advocate, to give them the opportunity to go into, you don't need persons to say that there are no behemoths that can do this. Today, we have a dying trade in masonry. I can tell you that persons that are listening today, we cannot find aspiring persons that would love to learn the trade of masonry. On the other hand, we have something that you would consider, as a profession, land surveying. I can tell you that there are less than 60 licensed land surveyors in the country with all the land that we need. Each transaction, if you're buying a home, you need to identify the stakes. If you're gifted a parcel of land, you need to have it subdivided. These are things that BTVI, the importance of BTVI, and my journey, I speak to each of you and let you know that we, the alumni of BTVI, those that have gone to the halls of BTVI, are important to the nation building. When I was teaching, I often say to myself, this is my national service. I often would take one or two students. I can tell you of a student that literally, I can call him today. He does an excellent job with cabinets. I've offered work to him, he's successful. He's learned that his value is far more than just learning a trade. As we sit and across, I know that they had done remote campuses. That the school has taken BTVI to our family islands where it's needed. Construction today, you can't find personnel to staff the amount of construction that's going on. The amount of industry, that is a very serious concern. As you can see, as I said, those in other areas of learning, beauticians, there are so many. If you do a survey, and I'm sure the school would have done so, but if you were to look at it, literally, most of I'd say more than 80% of the beauticians on this island would have sometime have gone to BTVI. So today, after really having the experience and being given the opportunity to head the construction trades department, to touch the lives of so many, students that, some young, some old. I remember having a class in, when we ran the weekend program. I would say, I showed it in mind, I had the class of all of the sisters of the owners and proprietors of Bamboo Shack. Each of them came to that Saturday class to learn. It was cute to see, Dr. MacGyver, and to see, the other sisters there learning to cut a piece of wood and nail. And, so the effect was there. I can tell you, I saw doctors coming to learn because they were paying too much money to have someone come and fix the pipe. So we learned at BTVI, and the alumni of BTVI, our purpose in this country, as I began to tell you, the hidden gem. If we can get the word out, persons can begin to understand that we have a country to build. New Providence, you see a lot of construction and say, okay, where else is going to go here? It's crowded. But you just look in the papers and you see the amount of projects that's coming out of town planning. The family islands, what's going to happen in Grand Bahama? What's going to happen in Eleuthera? What's going to happen, as the developers come? You look at this little country of ours. It's sad when we have to bring in the expertise. I must also say that when we go out there to work, we bring in, what we'll call the foreign labor with that expertise. We have to be able to be on par or better. Not because, it's our privilege, but when we go out and represent BTVI, you have to let the world know that we're on par. Our training, because I can tell you, I know that the training it's nothing like being able to, the math and the English, these are important. All right, when you learn to read that plan, you're just not working with your hands, but you have to be able to become a thinker. You have to solve problems. You have to be able to know exactly that not one project is the same. Each construction project is a unique creature. So you can say, oh, I did that before. But no, it can be one simple thing that can be off, that can actually make your project not a successful project. And you take that into every other trade and aspect of your life. I began, and I'm telling you, once you have made up your mind, all right, and you decided that this is what I want, and you're going to represent BTVI in the way in which the school wants you to represent them, to know that when businesses knock at their door, they're going to get quality students that have been trained, that their training will allow them the confidence to know that they can go on and bid and take on more work because we know that we can staff it. It's nothing like being offered an opportunity and you're afraid because how am I going to manage this? When you start off simply by understanding how to measure, how to cut, how to actually assemble, how to finish. And in these simple processes is what persons want to know, that you as a tradesman, that you can think and become a manager. These are simple procedures and steps that are thinking of, if something is here, Should I wait and sit down until the boss come? Should I take it upon myself to make a decision? Should I write it down? Should I communicate to the executive authority on the job, the owner, that, it's simple, just, we're going to look at it. Maybe this is best. And these attributes, along with hard work, will propel us, to become owners of companies now. Persons no longer have to look to us as a skilled person to hire, but they can hire us, to actually contract. Once we have combined all the training, the communication skills, the math skills, the business skills, along with the technical skills that we are picking up. And this is what BTVI facilitates for us. So my journey continued that, someone looked at me and offered me, a gift of saying that they'll appoint me to the board of BTVI. I think that is, of all the achievement in my life, in my career, where I am right now as the executive vice president at Arawak Homes with responsibility for planning and construction. Being appointed to the board of BTVI, I take it extremely serious because I know the need. And, when I sit around that board table, I can sit and say that I remember coming in 1984, that I know that in 2022, I'm here to observe and make a difference because the country needs the skill set of the students that are being graduated from BTVI to be able to fill the positions that will become open in a short time. Once we are able to fulfill the mandate, we are able to put forth students that have the mindset to work hard, to display the discipline of what they've studied in a manner that a business person would be able to successfully complete their project. For those students that aspire to become contractors, business owners, or simply mentors to others, they are prepared. And I am certain with the capable management staff that I've began to learn, that we will put this together and ensure that our workforce becomes strong with the alumni and students that graduate from BTVI. I thank you.
I thank you too. Quite a gentleman, spoken like quite the gentleman. Now, we have some questions here for you, Mr. Pinder. And again, we are so proud of you. The fact that you are an alumnus and now you have been named to the board. We like to brag and we're so happy. I mean, unashamedly, we like to brag. And so we are so happy to have you. So you mentioned earlier that you didn't train to be a teacher, but you came and you taught. You became an instructor. There's a question that came in that's asking, was the transition a difficult one for you when you came into the classroom?
No, it was not, because, as I said, I was placed under the tutelage of a trained instructor who took the time, and through actually me doing research, and we were given courses to be able to perform our teaching duties. And within a year, I felt that I was ready at the time to simply, fly. It was very intriguing. Had I known at the time, and I'm glad, that's a very good question, because let me share. There were about I think 8 or 9 of us, and HOD Delano Archer would probably be the last. The government offered at the time a technical award, as I said, which meant that we that would have gone off to school to study, a technical degree, were to return to teach, which was a win-win situation. We had to teach for 4 years, but I can say that all 9 of the persons that I know, and all today very successful businessmen, each of them actually stayed to BTVI for more than 10 years. And I think that is something that should be looked at to answer in turn for transitioning. Once you become an expert in your field, of course, you just need to know the cognitive skills and other teaching methods but I'm pretty certain that it can easily be adapted in a program. But those that may be thinking of doing so, please, that is needed, is needed very much.
I see that Dr. Davis has her hand up. Dr. Davis?
Thank you, Mr. Pinder. Inspiring journey. I always delight to.
Hi, Dr. Davis.
Hear that
Good
over
evening.
and over again. So I was pleased to hear you speak about the importance of numeracy and literacy within the context of skills training, learning a trade. Frequently, we have a challenge convincing students who come to learn a trade that you have to have basic literacy and numeracy skills. It's just not about learning carpentry. I wonder if you would elaborate and give some specific examples in your life's journey as to why literacy and numeracy was so important in order for you to fulfill your desires as a tradesperson.
I most certainly, if you were to think about being engaged to contract a project, one of the first things that you will have to put together about numeracy is that you're going to have to be able to calculate, what it is that you're going to do. What is your time? You're going to need to be able to turn that time into your formula of what's your overall cost is. What is the materials needed? So if you do not understand the numbers, you're going to work in vain if the numbers are not correct. So whether you're an auto mechanic and you're working by a rate of X dollars per hour, and you know how much the parts cost, or whether you're a plumber and you know that this roughing is going to cost X to put in, you need to be able to communicate that in writing, as well as be able to add the numbers up to ensure that the hours that you're putting there, you'll be able to pay your helpers. You're going to need that if gas is required for the job, whatever it is, travel time. These are important things that in training, once you begin to learn the skills, of course, you need to now know to make the numbers make sense in order that you will be successful in whatever it is, your chosen career. So putting it all together, with the communication, the blueprint reading, the math, the English, the communication skills that is taught is extremely important, for students to be able to function. You can be the best carpenter there is, but if your price is low, more than likely you're going to cut corners to finish, because if you feel that you need to take home X amount of dollars, you're going to cheat on materials or do something. If your price is too high, then you simply won't get the job unless it's someone that has the disposable income to hire you. So it's very important. It's extreme. It's a good question, Doc, and that's very important for our students to be able to, more than when they come, I just want to learn how to do this. I don't know why it is that they push me to that program. That doesn't make sense. No, it does. It makes a lot of sense. More sense than you'll think. Those cents add up to dollars.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have another question. Now, you said to us earlier that you didn't come to ITC, BTVI, because you wanted to. You came because mommy made you come. What do you say to others who have signed on, who are on now? You also mentioned that for a long time, there has been the stigma as it relates to going to the trade school. What is your advice then to those who are now enrolled in BTVI or those who have graduated from BTVI when you have people looking at you cross-eyed? Tell us, give some advice. What do you say?
I can tell you from one that sat in that direct position. When I came I wanted to be a pilot. I literally, my family, aviators in my family, and I thought, okay, that was my chosen career to follow and so forth. But as I said, at 18, I was 17 at the time, I think, I wasn't sure exactly of what I wanted to do. But as you said, my parents are like, you don't just sit down and do nothing. You go learn a trade. So that is where this thing about trade, you're learning a trade. Actually, tradesmen have a career. Carpenters, masons, plumbers, this is a career choice. So it's kind of hard to differentiate, from academia to vocational, but it's what you actually choose. So to tell you that at the time, yes, you can sit in and you can learn a trade, and maybe you'll get an opportunity to go off. I could have gone off, at the time I chose, after going to BTVI, I chose to study construction management. Right. I could have probably worked and, maybe followed my mind and say, become a pilot. But in doing so, I came and I liked what I was doing. I saw when I went, especially when I went out to do the internship, I got into it, and I see, I love seeing these buildings put together, and I wanted more. I wanted to experience more. So when I got the opportunity to go off, of course, it was an automatic for me to say, let me study construction management. So when I tell you, in studying construction management, I began to understand. I'll tell a little secret here. As many tradesmen that are needed to build our country, let's triple that in terms of supervisory management. And that is what we are lacking. But it starts by you understanding the basics of being able to build. If you go on a job site, you're a hard worker, you're proficient in what you're doing, a manager or owner of a company, especially large, they'll put you in their management and training programs. They will begin to, because they need, I can tell you, I had an offer one time. Someone was doing 7 homes in Abaco. They was doing the boom, and they were like, we need someone, man. I understand you're at Arawak Homes and they want to do this. And they threw this ridiculous offer to me, and then he's like, oh, we're bidding on our project in Cotton Bay. And I'm like, you're trying to set me up? My boss on Cotton Bay. How are you talking to me about that? He said, I understand you're good, but you honestly, because the person's, when you have to, and that's why we were talking just now about thinking, all right, being able to, you come to work every day and you're just going to bring your tools, right? You're just bringing your saw and you're going to lose out. So, and I'll tell you something else. It's only so long that you're going to have the strength to continue working hard, pitching a roof. I would not go up on a bell cost today or a high roof. When I was younger, yes, you can do that. But if you think that your life expectancy, your career life expectancy, being a carpenter is going to be long, in this trade, we have to plan. So somewhere down the line, you have to identify, where am I going to be? How am I going to transition into owning my own business? So it's a personal investment of time. Research is going to have to be done for you to be able to know that I'm now prepared. So many of us, we take out and we go get a business card and you go do this, and then you get a bad name. But if you were to plan that properly and simply say, okay, I'm learning this now. This is something new. This is a project I've been on. I've never used that project before. But you take that opportunity to learn the new techniques. You take the opportunity to, as you go around, YouTube is there. Everything is out there for you. If you want to learn to pitch a roof, you can do it on YouTube. There are estimating courses. There's so much that you have to now begin to think like a supervisor, leading toward a business owner. So the same way, until you get a dose, you can go and work for someone, not give your all, and give that boss or that owner a lot of headache. And these people come into work and they're not performing. But if you think you're going to open up your own and not have that done to you, and you cannot identify the issues or solve the problems, it's just a vicious cycle that we're going to go through.
I have another question here. Thank you. You spoke about the importance of setting goals. Now that you're a board member do you have any specific goals that you would like to see BTVI accomplish?
I do. I have big goals that I would wish to see accomplished at BTVI. Literally, I can tell you, a new campus. You know, is no way that if not the technical block, you know, there's no way that you walk into a building that 84, and I guess it was there maybe 20 years prior to me going there. And it's easy, you know, it's easy, but that isn't really a primary goal of mine, to really see the campus developed in such a way that persons can can learn in a safe environment. They can learn in a new technological age, you know, with proper, there's things right now, you know, I don't know if I should, yes, I'll say it, but we are using modern technology, right? If I can explain it, and let me disclaim this, please. There's no way I'm trying to explain anything. We're building homes right now that are being used, and for the mere fact that we just doing it because we found a more efficient way, of actually constructing these homes, right? So it's the same strand or even stronger. But you have to go as you travel, and I can tell you that I give you an experience, right? I remembered lunchtime walking from BTVI's campus to Cable Bahamas office when it was being built, the first office when it was being built. That building was being built without a cut foundation. They just put the fill on it, they rolled the fill, and then they formed what would have been a beam around in order to retain the concrete. And I was like, what is this they're doing? You know, and I remember having to do the research, and I would walk each day out to Prince Charles and look at that and see it done. Shortly after that, they began to build treasure homes and treasure cove. And those homes were built using the same method. So it's literally that we need to be able in our environment to understand the importance of us really, to understand the importance of where technology is going. Atlantis was built in 6 months. That was built because of technology, not the conventional block and mortar. You know, they came in there with new ideas, putting together a team, communicating the plan, and literally the first phase of Atlantis. A lot of persons do not know, but that was a technological feat within itself. Bahamians worked on that project. Yes, a lot of persons came in. There were a lot of, expats that came in to assist, but Bahamians learned. So this is where we need to be. And I'm saying, so to answer you, I would love to see a new technological block that persons have that same opportunity that I just spoke of.
Okay, I have another question. We look at you, Mr. Pinder, Director Pinder, and from all accounts, you are a very successful man. You're at the top of your game in your career. You have a beautiful family. I had the pleasure of meeting your wife. And of course, you have children. You recently wrote a book. You've been appointed to the board. But having read your book and having learned a little bit about you, I learned that there were some challenges along the way. And so what is the advice, or what would you say to persons? First of all, would you care to share some of the challenges that you've experienced, and then give advice to persons who are listening so that we'd all get the message that this success doesn't just happen overnight?
I would tell you, firstly, certainly, yes, God inspired me to write a book. The purpose of the book is to encourage each and every one of us to be able to achieve, to know that we're able to achieve. It was just simply using the acronyms of the word achieve, letting you know that if you take action to chart the right course, to understand and remove the hurdles that are there with intensity and effort, with value, you will be able to earn whatever it is that you achieve. I don't want to go into the book, but I can say that for me, I was able to write that book because of the experiences. A lot of persons will look at experiences, which I now deemed as hurdles, that I had to remove, that I had to literally climb over. You know, when there was a history, I came to BTVI because I didn't have 5 BJCs to get into to the then College of the Bahamas. You know, and that was at my own doing. You know, I had a few GCs, but at the time the requirements that you needed 5 BJCs, and I couldn't. When others had gone on, you know, I had my classmates, my graduating classmates who were going to school. I was the only one in my graduating class that was told to go learn a trade. So it was like, you know, I learned early that because of my mistakes, right, that I had to stand up and take responsibility. So when I was placed in an environment, in a vocational environment, and I understood that, you know, I sat and I just looked around and I'm like, hey, I got to grasp everything that I can here. So it's just like, I now know, and I would tell each of you that don't worry about what's happening. Understand that there is going to be problems that you have to learn to solve in your life. God has given you a gift, right? Each of us has been given a unique gift. He can tell you the number of your days. So if you believe in yourself and you seek his will, all right, his purpose, identify the gift that he's given. You know, a lot of times we say, oh man, you fix hair so well. You know, I mean, persons are there right now, like I see them just braiding her and they doing these things, and but you know, they're not trained. They didn't come to BTVI, but maybe they can identify that that's a gift. All right, and then expand on it. And it's the same way. How many guys on the street just have a natural knack to fix a car? All right, I know mechanic. Where you learn that? Oh, YouTube. Go and get certified. That may be just that gift. So I honestly believe that if we are to, as a people, to develop this country, right, that where it's important, AVP Thompson, right, you know, it's important for us to understand that our role at BTVI and the alumnus of BTVI, that we are nation builders. Because I can tell you, the priest, the doctor, the lawyer, everyone need. I just don't like the word tradesman, man. We're professional in our own life. I honestly, you know, because hey, they paying you big money. You know, they paying you big money. Let their plumbing get jammed tonight. See if they ain't gonna wake you up. That's like you having a baby. If they ain't gonna wake you up tonight and say, man, you need to come to my house right now, because none of they look down at it and they don't want to get messy in it. What we have to do it, what we have to look up and be, you know, deem ourselves as professionals in our chosen, you know, field.
I have another question. As it relates to mentorship, I know that you are very, very big on mentorship. And it was quite interesting as well for me to read. I know you say you don't want to go into your book, but to read that you too have mentors. How important is it? Say to the persons who are in this room, other alumni, how important is mentorship?
If you want to go somewhere, right, you got to identify where you want to go, right? And I mean, I could tell you, I remembered my former boss, God bless his soul. I grew up in Columbusville, and his daughter lived like adjacent to where I grew up. And I remember he used to come through every day, you know, on the weekends, basically, to pick up his daughter. And he used to drive this nice Mercedes, right? And it would be like, who's this man? Who's this man? You know, it's like, oh, that's Bismarck Coakley. At the time, it's like one of the Sunshine Boys and so forth. So I likened him to, like, you know, I want to be like Mike. You know, that was my Mike of the late 70s, early 80s. And you know what? God had it so that he connected me to work with him. God connected me. He hired me, as I said, just asking them. All right, so literally, I sat at his seat for about 10 years. No, a little longer than I've been there, like maybe 15 years. And you know what happened? When he retired, I was promoted to his position as vice president of the company. So literally, I'm saying to you that, yes, he was my mentor. I looked at my boss a lot of times. I can tell you something, a lot of times, a lot of you may not like what your boss stand for. But if the boss making sense, take heed. Trust me, take heed. Learn. You may not like his personality, and you may not, because you don't know when he got to sign that check, ain't no money in the bank. And he's trying to make some phone calls to persons and say, man, like, cover the check for me. I got these employees to pay and so forth. But them employees right now are ready to tear his head off. Right? And this is all the business. This is behind the scenes of seeing the homes being built and seeing, you in your salon and you got the light to pay and all this. And you're saying, wait, that woman don't know. She should be thankful I could facilitate this job. So when I say that you looking up to someone, you begin to understand their passion, their compassion. You begin to understand what they're doing for you. And a mentor will teach you the right thing to do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I did tell you we like to brag. So if you looked in the chat, you'd see Alexia say, that's my daddy. When she heard about Bismarck Oakley, that's my daddy. Oh, yeah. BTVI.
She knows. Alexia knows. He's a giant of a man that not just for myself, he mentored many others. I just think that I was nearer. I got the opportunity. I got to see the real insight of a true Bahamian businessman.
Okay. And according to her comments, he was exceedingly proud of you as well. So
Thank you.
Way to go, way to go, way to go. This has been very, very exciting. And so thank you so much. I will now invite Jetta Says, the secretary of the Alumni Association here in New Providence, to bring the thank yous.
Thank you, AVP. Good evening to all of you once again. Alumnus, former head of department, author, and now board director, Warren Andrew Pinder. Yours was a story of determination and sheer grit. If I may borrow an excerpt from Douglas Mallock's poem, Good Timber, I would say, the man who never had to toil to gain and form his patch of soil, who never had to win his share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger wind, the stronger trees. The further sky, the greater length. The more the storm, the more the strength. By sun and cold, by rain and snow. In trees and men, good timbers grow. You, Mr. Pinder, are good timber, and we are BTVI proud of you. Thank you for sharing, and we look forward to greater and better things from you in the future. Now to our alumni updates. There will be a virtual Alumni Association meeting on Thursday, May 12, 2022 at 7 p.m. Please monitor your social media pages for additional information. Anyone wishing to join the Alumni Association WhatsApp chat group or to purchase the alumni branded items such as mugs, lanyards, tumblers, the hot and cold, the t-shirt, or if you want to purchase the bracelet, you are asked to contact us at 424-0431 or 502-631-03. Please feel free to contact us at any time at alumni@btvi.edu.bs. We want to hear from you. Those have been the announcements. Now back to you, AVP Thompson.
Thank you, and thank you, and thank you once again. It's been exciting. Listen, and we have some celebrities in here with us this evening. I'd like to pause at this time to recognize the presence of Director Mr. Christopher Farrington, Director Mr. Don Forbes. So Mr. Pinder brought the grouping with him. We are so happy. We are so happy. Thank you so much. Mr. Farrington, Director Farrington.
Hi.
Yes, you feel free to say hello to us.
Good night, everyone. It was a pleasure to join you guys tonight. I look forward to other series such as this to get to know other alumni of the institution.
Thank you very much. And I'm trying to unmute Director Forbes in the event that he has, yes. Go ahead, Director Forbes. You may say a few words if you wish. The Forbes. Okay, good. So perhaps he stepped away. But again, we are just so happy to have you with us. Of course, you heard from VP Davis. You heard from AVP Veronica Colley. We have our academic dean, Dr. Plachette Maxey, who is always here with us. We have HODs in the house, Dr. Donnelly Minnis. We have Mr. Delano Archer. We're just so happy that there's such a supportive community here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That brings us to the end of another informative session. And I look forward to seeing you real soon. Have a good evening.
Thank you.